Do I go? Good afternoon. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, and to liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the signing of the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. Please be seated. Welcome to Pierson High School, Class of 2021 graduation ceremony. I believe I speak for my whole class when I say how happy we are to be together. If this past year has taught us anything, it is to value the value of the human connection and being able to share this evening with our friends and family. It is very special for all of us. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce our class salutatorian, Lucy Beaton.
If you haven't said it yourself, you've definitely heard the phrase, when will we ever use the things that we learn in high school during our real lives? Now, though I find it hard to believe that things like the quadratic formula will ever be a daily tool of ours, I think the greater ideas and lessons we have learned over the past few years will, and I'd like to share them with you all today. Though many of us haven't learned about the piecewise function since Algebra 1, I think they're a great metaphor for the structure of life. Our lives are composed of a million small journeys, innumerable beginnings and endings. These lines are not one continuous progression. Rather, they are all fragments of the greater function. As one line comes to a close, a new line simultaneously pops up in a different place, having a completely new shape, construction, and length. For all of my calculus friends, we call this transition a jump discontinuity. And the greatest lesson to be taken from these functions is that the next fragment may not pop up where you think it will. However, the function will always go on. As we come to the end of our high school fragment, we don't exactly know where this jump discontinuity will take us. However, we can be sure that the next piece is out there waiting for us. If you've ever taken a physics course, you know of Isaac Newton and his famous laws of motion. Having taken physics for the last 2 years of my schooling, I came to trust in these laws so much that I volunteered to be the person that Mr. Shulman broke a stack of bricks on to prove their validity. His third postulate of action pairs states that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. In life, we can choose to just go through the motions and coast, without having a large impact. However, if we decide to throw ourselves into something with passion, the reaction force can have world-changing repercussions. In short, you get out what you put in. I hope for all of us that as we take the next steps into the unknown, we can jump without trepidation into opportunities, creating a ripple effect that will reach out and touch all of the lives around ours in a positive way. Diction, or word choice, in literature analysis is undoubtedly one of the most powerful tools a writer can use to convey meaning. The lesson we can take from our English education is the same thing Mr. Holden once said to me as I approached the front of the class to give a presentation in 10th grade. Say smart things. The complex connotation each word holds adds depth to every choice we make as we communicate in our daily lives, be it in writing or out loud. The more precise our language is, the more effectively we can communicate. and the better leaders and teammates we can be. And while most of us saw gym and music as a respite from learning within the day, they were still instilling important values in us under the guise of fun. Through dodgeball, we found out that we're going to get pretty hard sometimes. However, our teammates will toss us a ball and get us out of jail. In this, we found the value of teamwork and cooperation in the face of adversity. And though what we played in music class may not have been in tune, or in rhythm, or at all resembling the original piece, we did take away the importance of listening to one another. The only way to create harmony between sections is to take the focus off of your own part and open up your view to the people around you. We learned that when working together with people that have different ideas, it is crucial to be open-minded and understanding. If we take away any lessons from our high school experience, the most important ones come from history. While Miss White-Dunn might say this lesson is to never invade Russia during the wintertime, I believe that looking back at our own past will help us as a whole move forward toward a better future. As Mark Twain once said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. By creating lessons out of our past mistakes, we can learn from them and alter the trajectory of our journeys to avoid repeating the same missteps. It also allows us to recognize the constants that remain unchanged through history and that define the human experience, the pursuit of compassion, justice, and peace, regardless of our differences. In the face of challenges and hard times, the unity these goals instill will help us tackle problems as one, not many. As we reflect on all of the lessons we've learned over the past 4 years, we can't forget about the people who taught us them. For many of us, we've been a part of the Sag Harbor school system for our entire schooling careers. The faculty that is a part of our small community is closely intertwined with the town and all of our lives. And, as the old proverb goes, it takes a village to raise a child. Every teacher, mentor, and parent played an integral role in all of our unique childhoods. All of us have fond memories of the impact these people had on us. I, for example, loved my kindergarten class taught by Mrs. Raybeck so much that I would pretend to forget the names of shapes in hopes I could repeat the grade. Luckily, she saw right through my act, but in reality, I was scared that I would never again have a teacher I loved or that taught me as much as her. Little did I know that as I worked my way through the elementary, middle, and high schools, I would have the privilege of being brought up by equally as amazing teachers and mentors. The dedication to integrity, kindness, and high-quality education that the Sag Harbor School staff shares is what sets our school apart from every other. And, to our great fortune, we will carry the spirit of this town and these people with us as we take the next steps of our lives. So, what I ask of you to remember from our Sag Harbor education is not what photosynthesis is, or who wrote To Kill a Mockingbird. Rather, to look for lessons in everything you do, and to carry with you what we sang every Friday morning, that by knowing, we're growing.
Thank you, Lucy. And now, please welcome the class valedictorian, Galen Davey.
These are unprecedented times. That is a phrase we have heard over and over in this past year. We hear it from the adults on the news, from the administrators, and even from our own parents. What they don't say is that these unprecedented times will characterize our whole generation. From the looming threat of climate change, to the issue of women's rights, to the life-changing COVID-19 pandemic and everything in between, we have faced a lifetime of challenges already. But I don't look at our situation and see a generation enslaved by circumstance. I see a generation that fights back. I see a class that wants to make the world a better place in any way they can. We have students who are part of the Green Club, trying to make Sag Harbor a cleaner, healthier home. We have students who have been active leaders in the Gay-Straight Alliance, helping our peers feel comfortable being who they are. We have students who are passionate about all sorts of issues and figuring out how to solve them. As we grow into the adult world, I have faith that we have the power to change it. Change is something that I have always been afraid of, but it is something that is good and necessary. These past 4 years, we have changed so much as a class and as individuals. From middle school, where we were kicked out of Madame Tussauds, to senior year, where we finally won Whaler Day, we have gone through a huge metamorphosis. Though we still find ways to make trouble for our teachers and our parents, we're not the same crazy kids we were freshman year. We've spent our last few years at Pierson learning not only textbook knowledge, but also what it means to work hard, to be a good friend, and to pursue your dreams. But this is just the beginning of all that learning. We are starting a new chapter of our lives where we will continue to change and grow, and I can't wait to see what you all become. Though our last year of high school is now one for the history books, I vote that we keep living in the present. I look forward to seeing you all again someday, but for now, I wish you all the best of luck on your own paths to the future. While you chase your dreams, don't lose sight of the smaller goals you've accomplished along the way, this graduation being one of them. We've made it this far, so let's keep fighting to create the world that we want to live in. I want to thank each and every one of you for my high school experience. Do I believe in fate or destiny? I don't know. But I do believe that everything happens for a reason. We grew up together, we helped to shape one another. And as we all go our separate ways and say goodbye, maybe even for the last time, just know that you have a whole community and a family behind you supporting you. Once again, good luck and congratulations to the Pierson class of 2021.
Thank you, Galen. At this time, please welcome Ms. Brittany Carriero, Pierson High School Principal.
Thank you. I didn't want to fall on my heels. So it is my honor to present the 2021 Principal Award this year. This individual is compassionate, kind, an unsung hero, and one that is a leader but doesn't even know it. Stephanie Ligori, please come up and accept the award. At this time, I want to express our gratitude. This was a very challenging year, and Pierson and Sag Harbor really as a community came together for these kids. A lot of people took leadership roles in doing it, and I want to thank you all for making the best end of the year for these seniors. Now, seniors, this is the last time I get to call you this. I now get to present our commencement speaker, who is also going to be alum, just like you will be shortly, Mr. Fred Thiel, Jr., New York State Assemblyman.
Those of you who occasionally watch me walk every day across Long Beach for a couple of miles every morning or every evening, I do it so that at the age of 67 I could make it from those chairs over there across this incline and still be able to give my speech without losing my breath. So you know, when I get to speak to a crowd that is as large as this, I sometimes tell the story to people of when I was in 7th grade at Pierson, and I had to make a decision as to what language I was going to choose. And in Pierson, in those days, in the 1960s, my choices were either Latin or French. Those were the two choices that I had. And, you know, I asked, you know, well, tell me about them. And they said, well, French, you're going to have to get up and speak it in front of the whole class. And Latin, nobody speaks Latin, so you'll never have to get up in front of the class and speak Latin. So I said, give me Latin. I do not want to have to get up in front of people to speak. And so it's kind of an ironic career choice that I made and what I get to do on almost a daily basis. I just want to say welcome to all of you, and I want to thank the class of 2021 and the Sag Harbor School District for inviting me to make some remarks at today's commencement. My congratulations to the graduates and to all of their families. 50 years ago tomorrow, on June 27th, 1971, 50 years ago, I was in your shoes. I graduated from Pierson High School. I remember a lot about that day. I was the class president, and I had to lead everyone in the Pledge of Allegiance, just as one of our students did today. I remember waiting in the music room in the gym, getting my gown and lining up for the procession. And I remember my father, who was on the school board. He wasn't the president, but the president of the school board let him present my diploma to me that day. And I remember my dad presenting the diploma to me. I have absolutely no recollection who the commencement speaker was at my graduation. 50 years from now, perhaps 50 minutes from now, I suspect that you won't either. I've been given only a little direction from the administration other than to try to wrap it up in about 5 minutes. In fact, I was told if I speak longer than 5 minutes, the varsity baseball team would be called upon to mount the podium and forcibly remove me. I was also told that if I could finish in less than 5 minutes, that Mr. Nichols would buy me lunch next week at LT Burger. He knows me too well. When I see a free lunch, I go for it. So here we go. When I look behind us at this school, my first thought always goes to Olivia Sage, who in an age of less gender equality was always called Mrs. Russell Sage. You know, when we were growing up here, we never knew what Mrs. Sage's real first name was. But when I think of her and I think of the gift she made of our school building in 1907 at a cost of $102,000. Building costs in Sag Harbor have drifted upward slightly since 1907. But it was one of the many acts of philanthropy that Olivia Sage made to the people of Sag Harbor, including the park and the library. I can say that without fear of contradiction, there has never been a higher return on an investment. It is a gift that is kept on giving to the people of Sag Harbor for generations. It is the gift of a quality public education. It is a gift that is synonymous with opportunity, success, and happiness. It has also been the key to what makes Sag Harbor great. More than 100 senior classes have now received a Pierson diploma, including my dad in 1942, my mom in 1946, my sister in 1973, and my 3 children in 2000, 2004, and 2008. We bleed scarlet and black. Today, you are the recipients of Olivia Sage's gift. To call it a gift is not to say that you haven't earned your diploma. You have worked hard and deserve the recognition you are receiving today. Mrs. Sage's continuing gift is the opportunity which education provides to all of us. That gift is not merely the knowledge that was imparted to you in a classroom or by reading a book. It is the full experience that a Pierson education affords. It's the friendships, the mentoring relationships with teachers and administrators, the sense of community that comes from being part of something larger than ourselves. I left these hallowed halls 50 years ago. Some things have changed dramatically during that time. Sag Harbor was a factory town in those days. It was referred to as the Unhampton. There were no cell phones or laptops or internet or social media. But my class also didn't have to confront the challenges and stresses of a global pandemic. COVID-19 has caused hardship and loss everywhere. It is the defining event of this generation. It will have lasting impacts for all of us. We as a community recognize the sacrifices that you as students have faced in the last 15 months, the once-in-a-lifetime of experiences of high school that were lost. I commend you for your perseverance to succeed in spite of these obstacles. I also wish to recognize the dogged commitment of the school board, the administrators, and our teachers for keeping our children safe while still providing for the best possible education experience under these very trying circumstances. And I think they all deserve a round of applause. But I'm betting that even with the change that 50 years brings and the challenges of the pandemic, that the experiences that have always made Pierson special are still not so different in 2021 than they were in 1971. Riding a sled down this hill with friends on a cold night in January, the teamwork and the camaraderie that comes with playing a team sport, or the creativity that comes with participating in the school play or a music concert, the special teacher or teachers that made a difference in our lives, or maybe just blowing off afternoon classes on the first warm day of spring to hit the ocean with our friends. What we share through generations of Pierson graduates are the people, the relationships, the sense of community, and the memories that we forge together. It is that sense of community that makes Pierson special. In my life, I've met thousands of people and made many good friends along the way. Yet all these years later, there is still something special and different about the friendships with my former Pierson classmates. We may have gone our separate ways, we may not see each other as often. Still, when we do cross paths, the bonds shared from our common experience at Pierson are still palpable decades later. And the Pierson experience does not end at the boundary of the school grounds. It is also the way that the greater Sag Harbor community embraces this school. Sag Harbor is a beautiful place. The waterfront, the historic buildings, the small town charm. We work tirelessly to protect it, but that is not the most important resource. Rather, it is that sense of community. We see it in times of tragedy. When Linda Grunland, class of 1972, died helping to thwart a terrorist attack on Flight 93 on 9/11. When Lance Corporal Jordan Herder, class of 2006, gave his life to save more than 50 Marines in Iraq in 2008. The community came together to mourn the loss of these heroes and to comfort their families. We were them, and they were us. We see it in times of triumph. Every time one of our school sports teams returns from a championship game, I smile when I hear the sirens and I see the fire trucks welcoming our athletes back to the village. Win or lose, we are all one. But we see it every day. Firefighters, ambulance volunteers, service organizations, not-for-profits, the school board, the library board, the park board, all giving their time to make this a better place. This week I went to the funeral of Fran Scavone, and I know his grandson is graduating and his family is here today. His family ran a plumbing business in town, and he was my Babe Ruth baseball coach. He was special to me because he volunteered his time to improve my life and hundreds of other boys in the community by teaching the life lessons that come with playing sports. He's special to me, but there are countless men and women just like him who have given through their time, through the years, to make Sag Harbor a better place. You graduates are a product of this school and a beneficiary of generations of residents like Fran Scavone who volunteered their time to the Sag Harbor community. You will leave here this afternoon and you will begin to scatter far and wide to undertake the next phase of your life. I have no doubt that you are prepared to weather the challenges that life will throw at you. We will read and hear about your achievements, and we will be proud that you came from this place. I wish you all the best in these endeavors. No matter where you go, you will always be graduates of Pierson High School and sons and daughters of Sag Harbor. I have only one request of our graduates today. A Pierson diploma brings with it rights and privileges and distinctions, but it also brings with it a responsibility. The Bible tells us that to whom much is given, much is required. What makes this place special doesn't happen by accident. Rather, it is the countless deeds and acts and sacrifices of members of the Sag Harbor community that ensure that the next generation will have the same opportunities that they had. You must do the same. Sag Harbor has always faced its challenges. In the 19th century, the whaling industry disappeared, devastating the local economy. In the late 20th century, Sag Harbor faced another transition when places like Bulliva and Grumman and all the factories closed. This community has always persevered, and today is no different. As you look around, Sag Harbor has never been richer or more prosperous. People are engaged in bidding wars just to be able to buy a house and live here. But every time has its challenges. One of Sag Harbor's adopted sons, John Steinbeck, once wrote, "We now face the danger which in the past has been the most destructive to humans: success, plenty, comfort, and ever-increasing leisure. No dynamic people has ever survived these dangers." Now, material wealth is not evil, but material wealth alone doesn't make a community. Unchecked, it can corrupt a community's soul. Sag Harbor has always been a welcoming community, but amidst all the glitz and wealth, some now see Sag Harbor as more of a commodity than a community. Will there be room for the next generation of Fran Scavonis, who are the baseball coaches, the firefighters, the teachers, the essential workers that make a community work? We must adapt to these changes, but we must all keep our soul. We will need your help. My request to today's graduates is to never forget where you came from and the special gift that you were given. Even if you move far away from this place, Sag Harbor and Pierson will always be a part of you. Keep Pierson and Sag Harbor in your heart. And as you move forward to pursue your dreams, I implore you to remember Olivia Sage's gift and to pay it forward. Find some time to use your talents to ensure that future generations of the sons and daughters of Sag Harbor have the same opportunity that you had. And as we all reemerge from the wake of the pandemic, let us remember that we all have learned what we all have learned at Pierson. What makes life special is the people and relationships that we have forged together. During this time of loss and sacrifice, we've had time to reflect on what is important. As former Senator Paul Tsongas once said, no one ever lies on their deathbed wishing they had spent more time at the office. What is important in the end is not money or power or fame. Rather, it is the people and relationships that we had, the things that bring richness and beauty to our lives. If we remember that, all the loss and sacrifice during the pandemic will not have been in vain. My congratulations and good luck to our graduates. Mr. Nichols, I've taken more than my 5 minutes. Next week, I'll have to buy my own lunch. Class of 2021, that is my final message to you. There is no free lunch. Congratulations.
At this time, I invite Ms. Carrero, high school principal, Mr. Nichols, superintendent of the school, and Mr. DeSosa, president of the Sag Harbor School Board of Education, to come forward to represent their diplomas.
At this time, we will proceed with the presentation of the diplomas. Will the first row rise? Ilinzi Altamirano Vega. Emily Lynn Backlund. Catalina Badia. Joseph Badia. Amelia G. Baltz. Juliana Barahona de la Cruz. Richard Joseph Barranco. Lilith Bastak Ochoa. Chiara Bedini. Lucia Fogg Beaton. Hudson Brindle. Ryan Raymond Brown. Emily Alexandra Brownstein. Nicole Chang. Nicholas Collage. Haptamu Gabra Coulter. Galen Elizabeth Davey. Stefania Andrea De Felice. Brian Frederick Denny. Jack Durier. Brooke Anna Esposito. Jamie Farnham. Will the second row please rise? Hudson Gallardi Troy. Diego D. Giraldo. Sebastian Felipe Gomez. Penelope Green. Emily Guanga. Josiel Guanga Solis. Peter Hatfield. Sophie Healy. Stephanie Ilagore. Gabrielle Julienne Jenkins Alexander. Kobe Richard Kenny. Malachi James Kenny. Jude Nibb. Jackson Lamontagne LaRose. Christian Lyles. Alexandra McCoy. Christian James Mankowski. Nicholas V. McCoy. Benjamin Keith McErlin. Rachel McKelvey. Fernando Manjura. Jonathan Montes Salgado. Sean Patrick Murphy. Will the third row please rise? Jeremiah Murray. Tess Daniela Norris. Grace Louise Perillo. Julian Pesce. Tylee Elizabeth Ribadenera Amagüe. Richard Rodriguez. Roberto Saldivar. Ayala Saldivar Tellez. Thomas J. Scavone, Jr. Tucker King Scavone. Sarah, Sarah Elizabeth Shern. George Blake Summers. Lila Morgan Sweezy. Dylan Tilton. Angelica Tobias Narvaez. Alexis Trinidad. John Vinay. Savannah E. Van Houten. Francesca Snow Vitale. Kiara R. Williams. Colby E. Wilson. Daniel Logan Wilson III. Vivian Esther Whitty. Truman Wyatt Yardley. As the superintendent of schools, I can certify that the students standing before us have met the requirements set forth by the United States Education Department, the New York State Education Department, and the New York State Board of Regents, and are eligible to graduate from high school. Accordingly, I proudly present the Pierson class of 2021. They're singing.
Wait. Oh, we pledge devotion, our love will never last. We'll always honor Pierson, hail the scarlet and the black. They're the brothers. We are the best. But like, I don't know.
You just joined the recession.
I know, but Mr. Minton told me to come down.
Okay.
I said that.
They sang too fast. Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, okay.